his return to the track yesterday from the back of the grid, firing his way through for 5th position. It's just been an unlucky weekend for the Barney man. Yeah, it has, and for Petrucci, the decision to use the inters backfired for him, but it's one of those things that you're either going to be a hero or you're not. Yes, and on this occasion it wasn't a hero, it was a 0 decision, 0 points on the board. For Alex Lowes as well, we know that he favours the Superpole race format. Missed the Superpole race though last time out, and then came home in 12th position earlier on today. So 6th place in race 1 shows that the pace is there for Alex Lowes. We'll see if he's got it again this afternoon. Yeah, I think he did a really good job yesterday. Probably one of the better races that we've seen from Lowes, because he got everything he could out of that package. So on we go to row number 5 with Dominic Egerter, Bahattin Sofoglu and Jari Montella. Egerter taking advantage of a slightly thinner field, it must be said, with only 19 riders on the grid, but hasn't yet managed a top 10 finish this weekend. Had 3 top 10 finishes at the UK round last time out, so looking to further bridge the gap to his teammate Remy Gardner in his absence this afternoon. The points gap is 6 between the 2 GRT bikes. 14th on the grid for Bahattin Sofoglu, and obviously his 11th place on the grid earlier on today, the highest up the order that he has managed to start. In this one, he will surpass Keenan Sofoglu for race starts in World SBK. It was a fairly modest career in the Superbike Championship itself for Keenan, but Bahattin with the Superpole races as well, his 1 season already surpasses Keenan's. Completing the 5th row of the grid is Jari Montella, and a weekend that hasn't gone to plan for him. Certainly the Superpole race, a disappointment with that retirement. Did well to bounce back with a repaired machine in race 1 and come home for 7th position. It was a busy day for Barney, to say the least. Yeah, that 7th place finish yesterday was a good effort from Montella, but today a lot more difficult. Anthony Nelson, down to the grid with you.
Paul Dennin, team principal for Pata Maxxis Yamaha. He's just going to give his best luck to Jonathan Ray. A quick second, the 2 thumbs up. And Paul, Andreas had some fantastic pace this weekend. What will it take for him to be able to challenge for the podium? It's 2 4th positions so far.
Yeah, we were a little bit further away yesterday than we kind of hoped. Still a great race, you know, fighting off Danilo and Alex, etc. But yeah, the 2 factory Ducatis and Top Rack just had too much outright pace. We've changed the bike just a little bit, trying to create more rear grip. We're losing off the faster corners onto this home straight and onto the turn 4 onto the back straight. If we can find a little bit more rear grip, maybe these cooler temperatures might help us. So the plan is to try and fight with them for the podium if we can. Of course, Bulager's starting further back, but I expect to see him within a couple of laps.
Everybody's looking at the skies. Are you expecting any changes to the weather conditions?
Not expecting anything, just hoping for no changes.
Best of luck for the race. Thanks, Paul.
Hoping for no changes, because Andrea Locatelli's consistent enough anyway in his own right, and he's not too far away from striking distance for a podium place, particularly if it all gets a little bit spicy, as it has in both of the races so far this weekend here at Balaton Park. Just taking you through the last riders on the grid. We've got Tito Rabat on row 6 alongside Michael van der Mark and Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and Zakwan Zaidi then completing the field, the 19th and last runner. But real experience on that 6th row of the grid with Michael van der Mark and Michael Ruben Rinaldi. For van der Mark, just hasn't been anywhere with that BMW, and of course it's galling when you're not making the top 10 and your teammates leading the championship and on a run of consecutive victories. And then for Michael Ruben Rinaldi, his return to the Superbike class has not panned out as he might have dreamed on that Moto X bike. 19 riders in all, 21 laps ahead of us. In just the last 6 races, Toprak Razgatlioglu has gone from 26 points behind Nicolo Bulliger to 21 points ahead, benefiting from 2 non-scores for Bulliger in that spell. Bulliger's only win in 4 rounds dates back to race 2 in Most. It was one that salvaged the whole Czech round for the Ducati man, and that's what he needs now, to end this weekend on a high and take something with him into the summer break. Alex Raby and Steve English for race 2 of the Hungarian round. Really, Bulliger must beat Razgatlioglu more often than not for the remainder of this season in order to take the title. But Stevie's only beaten him once in the last 10 races, and the championship is slipping away. The problem for Bulliger is he can lose a lot more points in this race as well. And obviously the Superpole race this morning, very costly. Gave up 12 points to Toprak. This race he could easily do the same, because Toprak, Lowes and Alvaro Bautista have the pace to be on the podium and the pace to be in front of Bulliger before he clears the pack. Yeah, key for Nicolo Bulliga to make as many positions in those early laps as possible. Did have to fight his way through from the second row of the grid in race 1 and eventually managed to get up into second position. But those first 6-7 laps are going to be critical for Bulliga, with Bautista in particular now starting on the front row. And we know that the middle of the race, the latter stage of the race, he has the pace to match Nicolo Bulliga. Yeah, and certainly for Bulliga, the first 6 or 7 laps might be important. The first 2 laps are the really critical points, because he needs to make his progress from the 4th row of the grid. He needs to end the first lap inside those top 8 positions. He needs to be inside the top 5 by the end of the 2nd or 3rd lap. Otherwise, you could easily give up too much ground. With the harder tyre, everyone's proven to be very consistent with their speed. The hard tyre probably wearing about half as much as what we typically see. So it means that everyone's able to have good rubber all the way through the race, and it means that you're able to find ways to be able to make your lap time. Reminder of the championship standings. Toprak Razgatlioglu leads Nicolo Bulliga by 21 points. 12 of those gained in the Superpole race earlier on today. There's a separate fight for 3rd in the championship, with 3 riders covered by 13 points. Danilo Petrucci only at 3 ahead of Alvaro Bautista, 13 clear of Locatelli. Sam Lowe's an isolated 6th position. Then Xavi Vierge has emerged in front of that secondary group in the battle for 7th ahead of Alex Lowe's. Iker Lecuona is out, as is Andrea Iannone, Remy Gardner and Garrett Gerloff. They all were involved in the second then spill in race 1 yesterday afternoon. Yeah, that second turn is where the action was yesterday, and we'll see if everyone's able to get cleanly through it, particularly for the likes of Bulliga from that 4th row of the grid. Danilo Petrucci, you see here, 3rd in the world standings at present, but vulnerable to Alvaro Bautista in the championship. Petrucci's got to come back from the 4th row of the grid. Did superbly from the back of the grid yesterday after getting stuck with the red light in pit lane following repairs from the Barni Ducati team after that first stoppage. But Alvaro Bautista starting 3rd, will expect to go 3rd in the championship before this summer break. Bigger crowd today than we've seen the rest of the weekend so far. They're on their feet to watch the last Superbike starts. Race 2 of the 2025 Hungarian round gets underway. Not the best of starts from Sam Lowe's. Lightning getaway from the 2nd row for Andrea Locatelli. He's up and alongside Alvaro Bautista as well. Bautista slides his way into turn 1. He's got through on Toprak Razgatlioglu, and Alvaro Bautista hits the front in race 1 here at Balaton Park. Side by side for 2nd between Toprak Razgatlioglu and Andrea Locatelli. It's a long way round the outside of 3 consecutive left-handers, and Razgatlioglu holds firm. Behind Locatelli, Sam Lowe's now slotting in 4th position. Decent enough jump from Jonathan Ray. He's up in 6th. Alvaro Bautista riding the curb there. He's your race leader, but not for too much longer, as Toprak Razgatlioglu sends in a lunge. It's from a fair distance back. Bautista thinks about the cut rack, but it is Razgatlioglu who manages to get the bike stopped. So through they come, turns 7 and 8. Razgatlioglu ahead of Bautista, Locatelli, Sam Lowe's, Xavi Vierge, Jonathan Ray right behind him, and then it's Vickers. Nicolo Bulliga is up into 8th position on lap 1. Yeah, Bulliga doing what he has to do. He's come through on Ryan Vickers as well. That looks like Bassani running through the first of the chicanes. Not the best of starts for Axel Bassani, who was off the line in 6th position, has obviously rejoined, but by the looks of it, outside of those top 10 positions. So it's up to Alvaro Bautista now to try and latch on to Toprak Razgatlioglu and stick with him for as long as possible, knowing that his fight might well be with this man, his teammate Nicolo Bulliga, who's now up into 7th place. Another position gained, and Jonathan Ray is next on his agenda. Ray sitting in P6 and attacking Xavi Vierge. Yeah, good start from Ray and a good run through those first couple of corners on the Yamaha. Obviously, we saw for Locatelli how good of a job he did off the line. Ray did something similar. Razgatlioglu starting to break away. Alvaro Bautista coming under some pressure from Andrea Locatelli. Remember that back in Assen, when Locatelli took his first victory, Alvaro Bautista was not able to beat Locatelli on pure pace. Nicolo Bulliga makes his move on Jonathan Ray into turn 1 at the start of lap number 2. Ray still shadowing him, but that's not where his fight is. Realistically, Bulliga's on the charge through the field, and he's now up into 6th position. Yeah, exactly what Bulliga needed to do in the first lap, and a couple of corners. Needs to come through, and Xavi Vierge next. Maybe down into turn 9 he'll be able to get close enough to Vierge, but exactly what Bulliga had to do from the 4th row. Alvaro Bautista 4/10 of a second behind Toprak Razgatlioglu. Andrea Locatelli right behind him. Then it's Sam Lowe's, gap of half a second to this scrap. Vierge versus Bulliga, and Bulliga easily through. Just for Locatelli as well in the 55, he's good on the exit of turn 4 down into turn 5, but this part of the track looks where it's a little bit more difficult for the Yamaha rider.
Coming through the chicane, turns 9 and 10, and Sam Lowes comes in from a distance back, but Locatelli closes the door, and Sam Lowes will have to think about an attack elsewhere. Good racing between these leaders at the moment, but Nicolo Bulliger is now right with them.
Yeah, I'd say Sam's fairly fed up with seeing Locatelli in the early stages of these races, but Yamaha gets off the line so well and out of the corners very well. Since they brought in that super concession chassis earlier in the year, it really has helped them to be able to make a big step forward on corner exit.
I think Nicolo Bulliger will be pleased enough with how this race has started. He has wrestled clear of some of the lesser riders in those top 9 positions on the grid, and now he's eyeing up riders who are genuine podium contenders, Bautista, Locatelli and Sam Lowes directly in front of him. So decent progress for Nicolo Bulliger. Next 3 or 4 laps are going to be vital for him.
Yeah, Toprak's already opened up a second now on Bautista, and a new lap there where he picked up 0.6 of a second on Bautista last time around, new fastest lap.
Yeah, new fastest lap of the race from Toprak Razgatlioglu on lap number 2, of course. Bautista ahead of Andrea Locatelli, then Sam Lowes, and Nicolo Bulliger now stalking his prey. He's right with Sam Lowes. And this is an interesting matchup that we haven't really had the opportunity to see over the course of this weekend, because right from the start on Friday, Sam Lowes seemed to be the closest of anyone to Toprak Razgatlioglu. Nicolo Bulliger we expected to come good as the weekend went on. Obviously circumstances with Sam Lowes' crash means we didn't get to see the best of him in race 1. He's attacking Andrea Locatelli here, but he's got Nicolo Bulliger right on his tail. Locatelli offline, Sam Lowes around the outside of him, superbly through for 3rd position.
Locatelli braked deep into the turn 5. It looked like he had got it stopped, but just ran that little bit wide. That opened the door for Lowes to be able to come back through. But Locca, as ever, riding well in the early stages of this one.
Run of consecutive top 5 finishes for Andrea Locatelli. Looks a little bit outmatched in general by those Ducatis, and Bautista and Lowes having already got through on him. Nicolo Bulliger is the next to try and make the pass. This is now going to be for 4th position. Bulliger's already up and alongside as they make their way towards turns 12 and 13, but it's not easy to make a pass through there. It's narrow in that section of the track. Just wait to see if he can make his move now into turn 15. Sam Lowes, meanwhile, has launched his bid to make his way through into 2nd position against Alvaro Bautista, and he is through into turn 15. They make their way towards the pits turn, and Sam Lowes has put a couple of bikes between himself now and Nicolo Bulliger.
But you can see the difference between the Ducatis and the Yamaha there. Locatelli so strong on the brakes. Lowes will find it a lot easier to come through on Bautista on the brakes than he had on Locatelli.
Alvaro Bautista responds at the start of lap 4 on Sam Lowes. If he can get it stopped, Nicolo Bulliger sliding his way into turn 1. Block pass on Andrea Locatelli. That sees him up into 4th place. Well worked move from Alvaro Bautista, not giving up on P2. That's the realistic target for him here, but he's got Sam Lowes swarming all over the back of him, and Nicolo Bulliger will be in the mix soon as well.
Yeah, Sam's not afraid of taking that wide line through the long turn 3 to try and give himself the drive onto the back straight here.
Working well for Sam Lowes to carry that momentum off turn 4 and down the back straight towards turn 5, but all he can do is feint to the inside. Bautista still has the position. This is a 3-rider scrap as things stand for 2nd place. It's 2.5 seconds down on the race leader Toprak Razgatlioglu. We're looking back from Alvaro Bautista to Nicolo Bulliger behind him in 4th place, with Sam Lowes again having recovered P2. Yeah. And now Bulliger coming past Bautista as well, so Alvaro Bautista falls from 2nd to 4th on lap number 4.
Yeah, Bulliger just taking advantage of that as well to come back through, and good job from Bulliger here. We're 3 laps into the race, just into the 4th lap of the race. He's managed to put himself up into the podium spots from the 4th row.
Looked like Ryan Vickers ran off the circuit a little bit further back. He has rejoined, I think, in the same position. He's got to make sure he gives up a second there, otherwise he could face a penalty. But back with the leaders, 3-way scrap for 2nd position. Bulliger's done what he needs to do, get clear of Alvaro Bautista before Bautista gets into his rhythm. Generally around lap 7 or 8, that's where Bautista improves. Sam Lowes runs wide. Bautista with the opportunity to mug his teammate Nicolo Bulliger up into 3rd place, and in the end that's worked out okay for Sam Lowes, because he rejoins back in 2nd position, and instead of having Nicolo Bulliger on his tail, it's now Alvaro Bautista who he has already seen off. Back into turn 1 then. Bulliger responds against Bautista. Locatelli, with all this scrapping, is sticking right with them, and Danilo Petrucci gaining from 6th place as well.
Yeah, Petrucci, new fastest lap for him last time around. He was a second faster than Locatelli. All the fighting is bringing Petrucci back into this one as well. The mistake Lowes made into 15, as long as you don't run off the track, you're able to just about keep yourself in track position, and worked out well for him and well for Bautista to come through, but Bulaga attacked straight away into turn 1.
Yes, the advantage for Sam Lowes is that he could recover the line through 16 and 17. It's pretty much single file, so gathers it up, exits the final turn with a bit of a speed deficit, but Bulaga and Bautista not able to capitalise, and as we've said, Bulaga recovering that third place now, and Alvaro Bautista not sticking with him on lap number 5. Bulaga clearly faster, is hunting down Sam Lowes again for a second attempt now at making his way through for second position. Bautista dropping back dramatically on this lap into the path of Locatelli and Petrucci.
Yeah, Alvaro's more interested in defending right now rather than attacking, and you can see through that section of track just how good the Mark VDS bike is working as well. The number 14 of Lowes able to pick out a couple of bike lengths there on Bulaga, and this is good to see because we know how strong that Bulaga has been all the way through this season. This is a big step forward from the other Ducati riders to be there with him.
It's good to see from a neutral's perspective as well, because we know that Toprak Razgatlioglu is going to MotoGP next season. He's not going to be an issue, as we see Danilo Petrucci carving his way through on Andrea Locatelli. No surprise, other than Toprak Razgatlioglu, Danilo Petrucci's been the fastest man on the circuit for the last couple of laps. He's now up into 5th place. His gap is around about 1.5 seconds to Sam Lowes in second. So Petrucci's not out of the mix as yet for a place on the podium as we watch Sam Lowes, Nicolo Bulaga, Alvaro Bautista, Danilo Petrucci, and then Andrea Locatelli in 6th.
Yeah, Locatelli just losing that spot. But last time around, it was a second faster for Xavi Vierge behind them as well. So Vierge on that number 97 Honda coming back to them as well.
Bulaga with the run coming off turn 4. Will he be able to use it down the back straight? We ride on boards. And we wait to see who comes out on top on the exit of turn 5.
So Bulaga on the exit of turn 4 able to work really well through there. Sam was a little bit onto the curb, maybe still a little bit of damp patches in there as well. Cost him that momentum, and Bulaga was able to make the move.
Bautista down. Alvaro Bautista from 4th position tumbles out of the lead group, and after back-to-back podiums for Bautista as well, and that looked like a big one.
Yeah, and you can see Alvaro there at least getting himself onto his feet there. That's through turn 8. It's fast through that right-hander, and Alvaro trying to fight for the podium. We did see that he had lost that little bit of ground the last couple of laps to the riders behind him. It looked more and more vulnerable, but this is the mistake for Bautista. Keep an eye on the left-hand side of the screen, and you can just see how fast it is through there, and it's such a narrow line through that part of the track. This is on board with Alvaro, and you see that little bit of a head shake on the change of direction for him through this part. He's out on the curbs, and a little bit like what I said for Sam Lowes, maybe the curbs just holding that little bit of moisture, maybe the white line still a little bit damp as well there, and that's all it takes. But it's again another indication of just how much on the limit you have to be here in World SBK.
So let's take stock on lap number 7. Toprak Razgatlioglu leads, Nicolo Bulaga in second. New personal best lap from him last time around. He's opened up a 0.7 of a second margin over Sam Lowes. Then it's Andrea Locatelli. Where's Danilo Petrucci? Because behind them, didn't catch Petrucci on that last shot. Is he still in that lead group?
Yeah, for Petrucci, it looked like he was still behind Sam Lowes, probably about half a second down on him coming through that first sector. And there he is on the number 9 machine.
He's A-OK. It's only Bautista we've lost, so it's Razgatlioglu who leads. 5.5 seconds ahead of Bulaga. Sam Lowes third, 8/10 back. Petrucci 7/10 back. And then it's Andrea Locatelli in 5th position. And a big gap in front of him, big gap behind him as well, to the scrap between Xavi Vierge, Ryan Vickers and Alex Lowes. And Lowes in particular starting to make some progress at this stage of the race, attacking Vickers now for 7th place.
Yeah, Lowes on the Bimoto, we know how good he is at being able to manage his race and being able to try and just run that consistent pace. And he's doing what he has to do. Similar to yesterday, it's very clear the Bimoto isn't working great around here. But as long as you have a trouble-free race and maximise everything underneath you, you can still come away with a decent result. For Lowes, he'll be aiming for that 6th position in this one.
This is good for Axel Bassani as well, because he's staying right with Alex Lowes, and if Lowes starts to make some progress through the field, there is a chance that Bassani goes with him. And certainly Lowes, who had the better performance capabilities yesterday afternoon in race number 1. So let's see what Bassani can do with his teammate coming through as well, as Lowes runs wide and off the circuit altogether. And Bassani will rejoin in front of him now. So Bassani now leading the Bimoto charge from P8.
That's the risk around all these chicanes. So easy to break, even speaking to riders, 1, maybe 2 meters too deep, and you're just carrying that extra 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, and you can't get the bike stopped and turned in, and you have to take to the escape road.
In the background of the shot, Dominic Egerter was coming through on Bahatin Sofoglu. Here's the end of the move. Sofoglu, though, tries to hang it out around the outside of turn 1 for the inside of turn 2, but can't hold position. So Dominic Egerter defending, fighting his way through, and then defending 11th place. Taz Mackenzie next in line for him to get up into the top 10 for the first time this weekend. Meanwhile, in that lead group, Toprak Razgatlioglu 5.5 seconds ahead. Sam Lowe's a second behind Bulliger, but there is a race still for the podium places because Danilo Petrucci is continuing to gain on Sam Lowe.
Yeah, last time around picked up 0.2 of a second on Lowe's, and through the first sector picks up another 0.1 of a second. There's only a half a second between Petrucci and Lowe's, and we know that when Petrucci gets a sniff, he's not afraid to try and make those moves. So we're only at 1/3 distance. This is where you need to be patient and just make sure that you're able to consolidate where you are in the race.
And another typical race in the Petrucci-Bautista battle for third in the championship, because all weekend Bautista's been pulling back ground. It looked as though he could exit this weekend with that third position back in his pocket. Instead, he's crashed out, and whatever Petrucci scores here will add to his advantage over Bautista in the series overall.
And then the consistency of Andrea Locatelli up inside the top 5 in this race once again. This will be 3 rounds in a row where he's had 3 top 5 finishes. He's in position to move a point ahead of Bautista in the championship as well. So for all the speed that Alvaro has, the mistakes just keep costing him in the championship battle.
Yeah, it must be said for Bautista that the majority of them haven't been his fault or exclusively his fault. He has been unlucky with first turn incidents, but Alvaro Bautista costly on this occasion as we come into lap number 9. And it's Razgatlioglu still comfortably clear. This is some of the action further back down the order.
Just to say as well, Ryan Vickers last time around in the 1:40s, we saw a quick shot of him into turn 1 right there with Javi Vierge. So that's a really good job on the number 17 Motocorsa Ducati.
Yeah, Vierge losing a lot of ground last lap in the 3rd sector, so we'll see if that was just a mistake or if Vickers is simply faster than him through that area of the track. We'll know when we get through sector 3 this time around, because that's a close fight, 0.2 of a second between them. This is a close fight as well, half a second between Sam Lowe's and Danilo Petrucci. Sam managed to answer back with a new personal best 2nd sector last time around, new personal best 1st sector on this lap, so Sam knows he's got to push to hold on to 3rd place with Petrucci fast closing.
Yeah, and for Lowe's, we've been able to see obviously the last couple of rounds, the mistakes in Donington in race 2, the bit of bad luck in race 1, but the speed's there, and it's been there here all weekend as well. And Petrucci's got his work cut out as well, because it might only be half a second, but it's only 100th here, 100th there, and you need to be in a position to put the pressure on here, and that means being right there with another rider. That's Bautista's crash, and really unfortunate for Alvaro, but he had shown the speed to be in the podium fight. He saw the chance of being on the podium again, and you can see just that little bit wide out over the curb towards the green paint, and it's so easy to have a big crash there. So it was good to see Alvaro straight onto his feet.
New lap record for Toprak Razgatlioglu on lap number 9, a 1:39.403. So now 6 seconds clear of Nicolo Bulliger at the head of the field. Sam Lowe's a second back in 3rd. Petrucci 4/10 now the gap, and new personal best for both Sam Lowe's and Danilo Petrucci. Then Locatelli, Vierge with only a 1/10 of a second advantage now over Ryan Vickers. Vickers keeping Bassani and Alex Lowe's at bay. Bassani 6/10 back, another half a second back to Alex Lowe's, and then Taz Mackenzie 2 seconds further back in 10th. So 2 fights in 1. Petrucci's got the gap down, I can tell you now, to 0.3 of a second to Sam Lowe's in front of him, while Ryan Vickers has his first opportunity to make a move, not just yet against Xavi Vierge. This is for P6.
Yeah, and for Vickers, you can see once again into turn 1, he was looking really combative, trying to get himself close enough. There will be an opportunity for Vickers, but this is where you need to be patient, because this is where you have the chance for a really good result. Donington showed the step forward that he is capable of, but this is even more impressive to give yourself the chance to try and fight for a top 6 finish.
Yes, certainly for Ryan Vickers, and a long-distance race as well. His best results thus far have been in the Superpole race format. Ryan Vickers has picked up 8 points at the Emilia-Romagna rounds on the Sunday, finished 11th there, and then 2 11th place finishes on Sunday at the UK round, but this has certainly been his best weekend yet. And Taz Mackenzie certainly enjoying his switch of machinery midway through the season, fighting up inside the top 10, still on lap number 10.
Yeah, another good job by Mackenzie after the Superpole race. That was his opportunity to spring a bit of a surprise. He grabbed it with both hands.
It's becoming a group of 4 riders, this, isn't it? As Xavi Vierge holds back Ryan Vickers successfully for the moment. Bassani half a second back, and Alex Lowe starting to build up his rhythm again, only 2/10 now from Bassani, all 4 of them with new personal bests last time around, and the rider at the back of the group was fastest. The rider second from the back of the group was second fastest among them. The rider third in the second in the group was the next fastest. So yeah, the gaps are closing between each of these four at the moment.
So Xavi Vierge was the slowest in the group, but he's the guy at the front and with that track position. Let's see if Ryan Vickers is able to get himself close enough to try something. The Honda's really good on the brakes, and they've actually had a good weekend considering when they came here for the test. Both Vierge and Iker Lecuona very critical of the place. Didn't expect an awful lot from it. In the Super Pole session, second and third row for both riders, and they've had, well, for Xavi Vierge, a really good weekend, and Lecuona had good speed here as well.
0.6 of a second cover these four riders now in the race for sixth position. Vierge has held up Ryan Vickers. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. But we saw for Vickers at Donington Park last time out when he was involved in this kind of close quarters combat, he ended up losing places. And the risk here for Vickers is that if he doesn't clear Vierge, he could fall prey to the likes of Axel Bassani and particularly Alex Lowe's.
Yeah, exactly. And for Vickers, that's where it's more and more important to pick your moment to come through. You can see for Alex Lowe's as well, he's going to give himself the opportunity to come through on his teammate Axel Bassani, and probably a little bit too far back in for turn 15, but we'll see if he's able to have a good run through the final sector to set something into turn 1. That'll be Vickers' thought process as well.
Yeah, Vickers did look like he was thinking about the move there into turn 15, but he's making his way through the final turn now and on to start lap number 12 with a bit of a run on Xavi Vierge and a little bit of slipstream as well before ducking to the inside. Heavy braking zone, heaviest on the circuit into turn 1. Vickers is up and alongside at last, having stalked Xavi Vierge for 3 or 4 laps. Ryan Vickers into 6th position, Vierge with the inside into turn 2, but that's an important move for him because he closes the door and is well and truly on course for his best result and best performance yet in World SBK.
Yeah, that was a proper take a deep breath and come through and make the move, and that's what Vickers had to do.
Well, that's succeeding where he failed at Donington Park last time out when he got swallowed up despite having good pace on a couple of occasions. Now he's got to stay there with Xavi Vierge directly behind him, Bassani and then Alex Lowe's. Still no move from either of those two. Bassani 2 tenths back from Vierge, Lowe's another couple of tenths back from his own teammates. This is Xavi Vierge previously in front of Ryan Vickers. Now 2 tenths of a second between Vierge and Bassani, 7th and 8th places, lap 12 of 21.
Just behind them as well, Domi Aguilar is going to fancy his chance of being able to get in the mix with Xavi Vierge and Bassani as well by the end of this race. You can see the blue Yamaha behind them, and he's got a couple of seconds to make up, but he's been 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap faster than them.
Ryan Vickers immediately 8 tenths of a second clear of Xavi Vierge. This is Michael van der Mark, so he has come to grief. And a miserable recent run continues for van der Mark. He was down in 15th place and in line for a point. He's not going to score in this one.
That's down to turn 9. We've seen quite a few crashes through there this weekend where they've brought gravel onto the track. It looked like maybe that wasn't the case for van der Mark where he went down. He's been able to get restarted now and he'll finish off his weekend.
So what was a fight for 6th position is now a race for 7th. 3 riders involved. Xavi Vierge, Alex Lowe's and Axel Bassani. Bassani at the moment ahead of his teammates. You'll see the Tuber Motors there. But Ryan Vickers has escaped comfortably away, matching the pace of Andrea Locatelli last lap around. Locatelli in 5th, obviously 4 seconds up the road. So it's just about bringing home 6th place now for Ryan Vickers. But what a result that would be. And
just for Vickers as well, the 6th fastest lap of the race. So it shows that his pace is there as well. He's done a really good job today.
Slows then a 10th of a second behind Bassani, continuing to make ground, but not at a fast enough rate. And where do you try to make the move on your teammate without really forcing the issue? Because at this circuit, all of the overtaking hotspots are ones where you need to have the elbows out.
Turn 1 is the one place where you can get alongside and just basically determine the course of action. But you can see here for Ryan Vickers just opening up that gap over Xavi Vierge. The gap now up to almost a second.
Already 7th position in the Super Pole race, but there were mixed conditions and tyre choice strategies and all sorts that enabled him to get that result. Let's hope he can hold on for it here because we're told that he's under investigation for course cutting. Now, I did mention earlier on in the race that Vickers had run off and that he'd be required to cede 1 second. If he didn't, he could be looking at a long lap penalty that would put him all the way down to 9th place, and that would be a shame for Vickers.
Yeah, it would, and we'll see what he's able to do for the rest of this race. The one good thing is his pit board's going to tell him +1 second very soon, and then you're just having to hit your markers and avoid making mistakes.
Yes, the problem is he might need it to say plus 3.5, and that's going to be harder to achieve as Vierge sits in behind him in 7th place. New personal best from Vierge last time around, just trying to keep Vickers in sight. Bassani, Lowe's, Egerter rounding out your top 10, up ahead of Mackenzie. We saw the battle earlier on. Montella, Sofoglu, Ray and Rinaldi last of your scorers. And obviously weekend of attrition with Alvaro Bautista out, Michael van der Mark having hit the deck. So only 2 riders outside of the points. Tito Rabat is only 2 seconds from scoring, and Zakwan Zaidi last of the runners who haven't been involved in any incidents. Back to your lead group, really, because it's the only fight on track. Vierge, Bassani and Alex Lowe's, and for the moment, the 3 of them keeping their powder dry.
Yeah, and for the number 17 there, Vickers, you can see the gap now stretching out to just under a second. Vierge last time around had a new personal best just to keep Vickers honest at this stage, but he's having to do that to keep Bassani and Lowe's behind him. I do think that maybe if Lowe's was able to come through on Bassani, he might be able to attack Xavi Vierge, but the Bimoto just hasn't quite had the speed here this weekend.
Yeah, keep one eye on Dominic Egerter as well. He's about a 1/10 of a second faster in each sector at the moment than those 2 promoters. He's come through on Taz Mackenzie. He's got himself up into the top 10 for the first time this weekend. But there's 1 or 2 places still available for Dominic Egerter. The problem for him is that he's got a gap of 2.1 seconds to these 2 promoters up ahead. Bad news, I'm afraid, for Ryan Vickers. It has been confirmed a long lap penalty for course cutting at turn 9 without losing a second. We did see him exit the track and rejoin, and unfortunately for him, he did not concede enough time, and that is going to be a lot more costly than holding up and waiting 1 second would have been.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Ryan, and he'll take that penalty on this lap just to give himself the best chance, presumably, but he has to take one in the next 3 laps anyway, so we'll see if maybe he tries to open up a little bit of a gap, but yeah, that 3 seconds is going to drop him to the back of this group. This is the replay of the incident, and yeah, it's very clear what's happened for that. He's looked over his shoulder, but he's just maintained the gap back to those riders behind them.
Yes, current sporting directives require the riders to give up 1 second if they take a shortcut. And now it's up to Vickers to serve that penalty and come back out fighting in the closing laps. Lap 15 of 21 here. So the penalty will go out. He'll have a few laps to serve it, and it's about 3 seconds odd, isn't it, usually along that penalty?
This is down into the long lap loop, and he's going to take it straight away, it looks like.
Ryan Vickers then serving that long lap penalty, and he's gone off the track. So what might have been a 3-second penalty is going to be a disaster now for Ryan Vickers. Let's see where he rejoins. And he's out behind Jonathan Ray, so that's going to be 14th position for Ryan Vickers. What a shame.
He's also going to take that penalty again because he hasn't actually taken the long lap penalty. He's just made a mistake effectively in the eyes of the steward. So unfortunate there for Ryan Vickers, but that's the curse of the long lap loop.
Yes, we tend to see riders are able to stick within it, but when you're pushing as hard as you can because you don't want to lose places in the race, that's what can happen. This is how it goes for Ryan Vickers. Bit of a bump on the way in by the looks of it, and it's enough to carry him out into the gravel, and rejoins in 14th, and that is really unfortunate. The consolation for him is that he's obviously had the 7th place finish in the Superpole race, so still his best result yet. Meanwhile, Alex Lowe's takes advantage. He's now through on Axel Bassani, so that's 2 places gained effectively by Alex Lowe's, 1 because of the penalty served by Vickers, and 1 a pass on teammate Axel Bassani for 7th.
Just for Lowe's as well, obviously coming through on that, the big challenge for him will be to get back on terms with Xavi Vierge, but there's a chance of a couple of top 6 finishes in the feature length races for him. Yeah,
6/10 from Vierge, you wouldn't bet against it, would you? And he was 6th in race 1 yesterday, and a similar result this afternoon is pretty solid because the weekend didn't start off in the best fashion for Bimoto.
No, definitely not. It's been tough all the way through for them, and if they're able to come away with these finishes, I think they can be pretty pleased with how the weekend's actually gone for them. But for Bassani, the decision to gamble with the tyre choice for the Superpole race has paid off. He's up there running inside the top 10. May not have been able to make that progress from back then in the order.
Yes, we'll be happy enough, I think, with a top 10 finish in race 2 this afternoon. As we said, the pace wasn't good for Bimoto through free practice.
Just to say for Toprak as well, it looks like his slowest lap there is a 39.765. The second fastest lap of the race, so the fastest lap by anyone else other than Toprak, is Bulaga, 0.7 of a second faster than Razgatlioglu's slowest lap of the race.
Yes, so Razgatlioglu, only one or two where he hasn't been faster than everyone else has been all race along. And Toprak 9 seconds clear of Nicolo Bulliger, and that's the mountain that he and Ducati have to climb now when we come back from the summer break. And they're going to be 5 busy weeks, I think, at the Bologna factory. Yeah,
and it's a race margin now between them potentially. It could be 26 points by the end of this one, and it's a big head start to give Toprak when you know he's got so many circuits coming up that he's strong at.
In 2 or 3 laps' time, Dominic Egerter is going to be the man to watch. New personal best, I should say, last time around, and about 0.8 of a second taken out of Axel Bassani. Obviously, there was drama going on with him being passed by Alex Lowe's, but even so, Egerter continuing to make progress. 1.6 seconds now, that gap that was over 2 seconds. This is a super slow motion of Sam Lowe's into turn 1.
Just for that, for Bassani, obviously got overtaken by Alex Lowe's on that lap as well, cost him a bit of time. If you look at the lap times from Lowe's on his Bimota, around about 1/4 of a second faster than Domi Aguilar. So we'll see what Bassani's able to do on the next lap.
This is Nicolo Bulliger, riding comfortably in seconds, and Toprak Razgatlioglu into turn 1 in typical fashion.
Yeah, riding comfortably for Toprak as well, and for Razgatlioglu, we know how relentless he is, and the graphic showed it just with his race pace as well, but that's what his goal is always, just to try and just dominate every lap and every race.
Well, Alex Lowe's was 0.6 of a second behind Xavi Vierque about a lap ago. He isn't anymore. He is right with him. And there's an opportunity for Alex Lowe's, who took 6th position in race 1 yesterday afternoon, to take another 6th place here. Axel Bassani waiting in the wings, 4/10 further back in case it all goes wrong ahead of him. The top 5 places look already settled. Gaps between each of those riders at least 2 seconds apiece. But Alex Lowe's clambering onto the tail now of the Honda. Not quite into turn 1 this time around on lap 18. Vierque then gathers it up and holds on to 6th position. Alex Lowe's with a momentary wobble back into turn 1 there as well. And just a little bit of daylight opening out to Axel Bassani behind him, but that's more about Alex Lowe's pushing forward than it is about Bassani's pace.
Also important for Bassani, he's opened up a bit of a gap over Domi Aguilar, so with 3.5 laps to go, it gets very tough for Domi.
Lap 18 of 21, Alex Lowe's alongside Xavi Vierque up down the back straight. Big moment under braking for Alex Lowe's, but he does get it stopped. And in just 2 laps, Alex Lowe's has bridged a gap of 0.6 of a second past the Honda and is now set for a 6th position finish to match his result from race 1 yesterday.
And another really good performance coming from 12th on the grid. The decision to use the intermediate tyres backfired for Alex in the Superpole race, but in the dry weather running of race 1 and race 2, we've seen him on form on that Bimota. That's going to give Bimota a lot of encouragement, because you have to remember in the Superpole session, Lowe's had 2 crashes, didn't feel good with the bike at all.
Up to the next rider from the back of this group, Dominic Egerter, 1.5 seconds now. He is still making progress, but not fast enough, and it looks as though Egerter might have to conform and content himself with 9th position here.
Yeah, and for Domi, though, back into the top 10, and decent performance by him on the GRT Yamaha, and ahead of Jonathan Rea, obviously, with Remy Gardner out as well. It means that he's the 2nd Yamaha, just behind Locatelli in 5th position. Another good effort from Locatelli.
Disappointing result this will be for Jonathan Rea as well, down in 13th position as we come onto the start-finish straights at the beginning of lap number 19. 10 seconds the gap, Razgatlioglu to Bulliger, 2.5 seconds to Sam Lowe's, 2.8 to Petrucci, 2.5 to Locatelli, 8 to Alex Lowe's. So it really has been a race with some big margins between the riders. This is Jonathan Rea, and still scrapping for every position and every point, even though it's only P12 against Bahattin Sofoglu.
Yeah, and for Johnny, if you want to see why he's looking elsewhere for a ride next year, this is a good indication of it. Fighting with Bahattin Sofoglu for P12, still fighting with everything he has and trying to give it what he has, but Rea in that Yamaha, it's just not a bike that fits his style, and he just hasn't been able to make it work.
Now sees the others at the bottom of the straight, but gone are the days when Jonathan Rea could rip through the field on the Yamaha. It's not a bike that suits him, and he will be wanting away for 2026, and there's going to be a lot of news obviously in the coming weeks and through the summer break as to which riders go where. 2 or 3 that we've been discussing all weekend long, that really is just a matter of sequence and process internally within the teams for some of those announcements. But Jonathan Rea is going to be much talked about in the coming days, I'm quite sure about that. 2 laps to go for Toprak Razgatlioglu, and the length length of the start-finish, straight clear now of Nicolo Bulliger. This is a complete whitewash.
Yeah, it really is. And this is just what we've seen from Toprak over the last year, really, on the BMW. Just that relentless drive from, and it's very much what we used to see from Alvaro Bautista. Think back to 2019, Bautista, when he had that V4R in its first season. Perfect harmony, and he'd win races by a second a lap at times. Toprak's in that sort of zone now as well, where that's where it's exciting to see when he's going to go to MotoGP next year, what his level is going to be in GP, because his level here in Superbikes, he is at the absolute apex of what you're able to do on these bikes, and he's like that every single lap.
Alex Lowe's with a new personal best last time around, so that's finished off any hopes that Xavi Vierge might have had for 6th position. Dominic Egerter continuing to close, but it's 0.2 of a second a lap, and he's still 1.2 back from Max Elbasani, so he's not going to get there. Mackenzie 2.5 back. There's a chance Montella gets into the top 10 here in the closing stages. He is about 1/10 of a second a lap faster at the moment than Mackenzie in front of him, and the gap is down to 0.3. Ray versus Sofoglu still to be decided in the closing stages. Ryan Vickers did come back through to complete the long lap penalty a lap after his run through the gravel trap at turn 11. So he will be safe for 2 World Championship points in 14th place ahead of Michael Rinaldi. Back to your top 5, just making our way through the pecking order. We see Razgat Lioglu comfortably clear, masterclass from him, and really this lays down a marker, a benchmark, whatever you want to say. We've had 4 rounds at the start of the season that belong to Bulliger. The 4 most recent rounds belong to Toprak Razgatlioglu, and he's taken an even greater profit.
Yeah, for Toprak, at the end of the day, when he finishes this race, if he has a 26-point point advantage over Bulliger, it just means that championship just takes on that air of inevitability. The big question mark is always going to be if BMW can win the Manufacturers' Championship as well, because there's only 16 points potentially between them and Ducati. Toprak, with all of his wins,
Razgatlioglu will come through a yellow flag zone. He's just making his way through the southern loop at the moment and in towards turn 12.
It's not often you see Toprak showboating like that on the last lap as well, waving to people and just making his way around the track.
No, but it has been a weekend of comfort. It's been a weekend of milestones. The first Hungarian round since 1990 in World SBK. The 1000th race in the Tissot Superpole race this morning. And now it's going to be a 3rd consecutive hat-trick. It's a first win in Hungary. Now it's a first hat-trick in Hungary. Toprak Razgatlioglu does the treble here at the Balaton Park Circuit's inauguration. 2nd place will go to Nicolo Bulliger eventually. What a margin that is for Razgatlioglu to win by over 10 seconds. 3rd goes to Sam Lowes. So 2nd consecutive podium for the first time in World SBK. It's a feature-length race podium for Sam Lowes. Danilo Petrucci 4th. In the end, only holds on by 4/10 over Andrea Locatelli, who was fast closing on the final 2 or 3 laps. Alex Lowe's 6th, same results as in race 1 for him. Xavi Vierge, Axel Bassani, Dominic Egerter, and Jari Montella rounding out the top 10. So Montella getting through on Mackenzie. New personal best on the last lap there for Montella. Mackenzie into the 1:42. So Montella just nicking a place at last orders. But Mackenzie with decent points on the board ahead of Jonathan Ray, Bahatin Sofoglu. We will have Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Tito Rabat to score a point as well after the fall for Michael van der Mark, a penalty for Zach Zaidi, obviously retirements for Ryan Vickers latterly and Alvaro Bautista earlier on in proceedings. But for Toprak Razgatlioglu, well, it's rather the story we anticipated this weekend, but in what crushing fashion it's been.
Yeah, Toprak just showing the difference between him and the rest of the field. And once again for Razgatlioglu, another hat-trick, 3 in a row, but they've been 4 as well. But for Toprak and BMW, another moment to remember.
3 consecutive hat-tricks then for Toprak Razgatlioglu and for BMW. Let's get some reaction from the team.
I'm here walking towards Park Fame with Sean Muir. Sean, 9 wins on the trot, a 10-second margin. You were basically finished celebrating before the other riders had crossed the finish line. Could you imagine being at this state of the season, in this position, and particularly in the championship standings?
Well, I've got to be honest with you, we knew this would be an okay track for us, and like Magny-Cours as well, hopefully, but we need to get some points in front of us because we know we're going to start struggling later down the line. The red guys aren't going to sit still, but 21-point lead and down to 16 in the manufacturers is really, really sweet.
Well, enjoy the summer break and enjoy the celebrations.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, it's interesting that Sean picked out the Manufacturers' Championship as well, because you don't hear it talked about an awful lot. But they've got one eye on that now that Top Rak's in a rich vein of form. The opportunity suddenly presents itself that looked like it was dead and buried 3 rounds ago.
Yeah, the manufacturers' standings are always one that we keep an eye on, but they don't get the focus. And for BMW, they do get the focus because they know the importance of being able to wrap up a championship like that, going up against Ducati and the V4R. And with this being the last year of this model as well, Ducati really want to go out and win that manufacturer's standings too. So it is one of those situations where for BMW, there's still a lot to play for. Sean obviously is correct in saying that this weekend in Magny-Cours, he knows it's going to suit their bike. You need to maximise your chances. Aragon is one of those circuits that Top Rak has figured out how to ride over the last few years. Never one of his better tracks, but he's not particularly bad at it either. And then for Estoril and Jerez, we know how good he is there. So while the Ducati will get stronger relative to the BMW in those 3 tracks, you've still got Top Rak on the bike.
Yeah, the problem for Nicolo Bulliger is he didn't do particularly well in Aragon anyway last year. Magny-Cours is a weakness. If he gives up 13 points there, he's best part of 40 behind before you go to Aragon. Aragon, as I say, he wasn't that good last year. As Estoril and Jerez, as much as Estoril and Jerez should be weekends where Bulliger has the opportunity to outscore Top Rak, will he be able to do it by enough by then to recover what is likely, you would assume at this stage, to be a deficit?
Yeah, and that's the big question mark going into the summer break. Bulliger, we saw after yesterday's race the disappointment on the podium. He's come from the 4th row of the grid to finish 2nd in this one. He shouldn't be disappointed with it, but he will be disappointed whenever he looks at the championship standings. And this is where you need to be able to keep your spirits up and keep your team spirit up as well, because these are the moments whenever championships are either won or lost. What can you do in the hard times? Top Rak had his tough times at the start of the year. Look at how well he bounced back.
Yeah, superb. And not only in terms of character, but in terms of riding. Like, it came from nowhere, didn't it? Cremona was disappointing. Portugal, he showed that he could fight Nicolo Bulliger, but goodness me, each of those wins felt like a miracle. And at that stage, round 4, you thought this championship is only going one way. He came back at Most. Okay, there've been a run of